Hello everybody, thank you for watching Mad Trucks with Marcos. Today we have an awesome Jeep here. This is a SCA Performances, it's a JK-Z1. So you'll be able to see a video on this one right here at our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to that if you haven't already. More people we have subscribed, the cooler stuff that we'll be able to do. So subscribe there. You can see us on CunisCountryTrucks.com. That's where we are going to start to funnel all the cool custom stuff that we have. So we have 12 different locations right now. That'll have them all in one spot, Cunis Country Trucks. So yeah, we're gonna be checking out this JK-Z1 today. We'll get to see the cool little tidbits that it has, the custom stuff SCA has done for us. So I hope you enjoy the video. Alrighty guys, so we are here at the front of the JK-Z1. So we do have this beautiful steel bumper that was given to us, put on the vehicle by SCA. They did do that. There's a worn 8,000 pound winch in there. It's real nice built into the bumper. It's nice and clean. You don't have the big winch hanging out top here. They build it right in there. And then we do have Rigid Industries light bar in the front here. You have the recovery hooks, and then we got the roller for the winch. So fog lamps are built into the bumper, and then the headlamps are their replacement. It's a HID headlamp, and then they do have the LED light strip inside, which will light up for you. So the light strip, depending on what color you have on, sometimes you can run on the road. Like something like this, if you want to have it in red, most states you can't do red or blue on the front of the vehicles. So that would be when you're at a show, when you have it parked. You can do red if you'd like, but I know a lot of the other colors you can run with them. So that's nice. It has the control unit in the glove box on the inside. I believe that is an Oracle unit. So going around here, so you can see these huge tires on the front. It's a 37-inch tire. It's the BF Goodrich Mud Terrain. It's a great tire. It's been getting a ton of great reviews. So even though it's a 37-inch tall tire, it's 12.5 inches wide, and then they have it on a 20-inch wheel. Typically, you know, if you're on the Jeep forums or doing your research, you know, oh, you get to a 37-inch, you start to really lose drivability. Combination of the great tire and the great suspension they put underneath it, we'll talk about that in a little bit. When you're on the road, you don't get a lot of bump steer. It doesn't really get caught in the grooves too bad. The road that our dealership in Elkhorn is located on, it's a pretty bumpy road. Everyone knows it's a bumpy road, but you can drive down it. It's not a ton of inconveniences, you know, for getting the big 37-inch tire. So it's a fuel 20-inch wheel. I believe that's a fuel assault wheel that SCA custom painted, so it really ties in with the black and red theme. So the suspension, it is a FabTech suspension. The suspension itself is a 3-inch suspension lift. And then as far as the shocks, they have the Dirt Logic shock with the external reservoir. You know, that shock has a lot of travel in it because of the external reservoir. So when you're doing off-roading, you know, as you can tell here, we still have a lot to go. You know, it does have disconnecting end links. So right now, I'm not sure if you can see it or not very much. So I actually disconnected it to put it up here and drive it around. So you can have this down and then it locks in here. It's not gonna let me do it because it's articulated. But basically that locks in. When you're on the road, you'd have that locked in. When you're off-roading, you just pull the pin, pull it up, and what that's gonna let you do is it's gonna let this front tire really articulate up. You know, if we had an articulation ramp, we could probably get the tire, you know, about as far up until it started to go on that fender. So it's a great suspension. You get tons of off-road performance, but most of all, you don't really sacrifice too much of the on-road performance. So it does have steel fender flares. Again, they did a lot of custom touches to them at SCA. So it's a steel fender flare, and then it has this nice rolled tube on the side. It's definitely, so it has an awesome look is one thing. It does serve a purpose though. You know, this steel bumper is going to be able to take, or steel fender, excuse me, is going to be able to take a lot more abuse than the factory plastic ones would have gotten. So that's really nice to have that. Also, and I'm sure you'll see it better in some other shots, it does have the hood with the air, basically it's got these little air vents here. Instead of having the air be inside the engine compartment, it's basically an air release. And it's gonna let the air inside of there get pulled up, and it's gonna release it out of there, and it looks great. So, go along this side, they do have their snorkel. It's got SCA on it. The snorkel's really nice. One, they look very cool. Number two, if you did really do some off-roading, you don't have to worry as much about the water getting sucked up through your intake. You know, even if you're talking down there, you know, if your intake is normally here, if you're going through a mud pit, doing that kind of stuff, the water doesn't have to be up to here for it to have been able to get into your air intake. So it does serve a purpose there. They run the piping all nice and clean out through the inside, and then it hooks up to the bottom side of the air box. So we have rock rails. These rock rails are really nice if we were going over an obstacle and came down too hard. These are gonna protect our brand new beautiful body that's on this Jeep. They do also serve a purpose, you know, from stock, so it's a 3-inch suspension lift and then the 37-inch tire, so it does sit substantially higher than a stock Wrangler would. It does stick out far enough to where you can use it to step up and get into the Jeep. And then it works really nicely with the steel fender flares, goes onto these, which are the same finish. And it really just kind of ties the whole Jeep together. And you can kind of see a little bit of the suspension in there. I didn't mention in the front, it does have bump stops on the front and rear. That's basically here. So if you really come off an obstacle hard, that rubber thing is going to basically hit the axle. It's going to prevent any damage from happening to the frame or to the axle. Basically a little safeguard built right in there. And of course you got to have the brush protectors for the taillights. It does have another Rigid Industries light back here. And I'll show you the light panel on the inside here in a little bit. So that, and then we have a huge off-road high lift jack. So what that jack's gonna do, so it's a lot taller than it was from the factory. The factory jack probably isn't gonna serve us a lot of good in this scenario. So if you're off on a trail, this is a lot easier to lift your Jeep up and put the spare tire on. Also, you know, if you're on uneven terrain, this is gonna definitely have enough lift to be able to lift however much lift you need to get the wheel and tire off. So it's got 5 wheels and tires. With a 37-inch tire, you know, if you get a flat or puncture it on the trail and you need to use your 4-wheel drive, you really got to make sure that you have a full-size spare. So this spare is really nice. It actually has the carrier that's built into the bumper. So generally, when you're putting a tire like this, I don't know, I guess it once you add the wheel and tire, probably weighs 100 pounds. That's a lot of weight to be hanging on the door for the Jeep. So I'm gonna unlock it real quick. And just so you guys can see, so it is still attached here, but this is really just a guide. All the weight is put onto the bumper through this bracket, but when you open and close it, it moves and slides very nicely. So now the weight of all this, the weight of the tire carrier, the weight of the jack, it's on this bumper. It opens and closes with the door, but it's on the bumper. So if you're hitting bumps, doing that kind of stuff, you know, it's gonna keep the Jeep safer. And on the back, so it mentions steel bumper. We have recovery hooks on the back, and then another beautiful JK-Z1 badge. So hope you like it, and thank you for watching.